what's up, everyone? We're now showing up. What's up? Hey! How's everybody doing? So I am Jared Rabago. This is Mr. Bob Roberts, our design director. Hey, what's up, everybody? So we're gonna run into this really quick because first thing is we have E3 stuff to talk about. We have stuff related to the story trailer, and we also have a relatively set of kind of having you guys do votes and ask us questions regarding some certain game things, because I've seen around the community there are some more questions that are still out there. So please, that'll be the time to ask us that. And I realize I might have made me really loud, so let me know if that's the case. But before we get into all that, we have someone who's literally hiding behind a curtain. Before we reveal this wonderful gentleman, I'm going to move us into showing an important thing related to E3. What you guys see on screen is the E3 schedule that will have things related to Shadow of War, and we're going to have things related to the Shadow of War demos from our theater where we're doing live gameplay. So we have a variety of stuff, but I have that up on screen right now as a transition to bring in someone new. So Tony, you're welcome to now come on screen. Cool. Bob, you're still heard, actually.
All right, so Tony's got a mic up here.
Yeah, Tony's going to mic up.
And we can hear him, and we will dive into the trailer.
Yeah, that's the plan. And we'll start off with the story trailer.
All right, so you guys haven't met Tony before. We sit next to each other out there on the team. He's our lead narrative designer, as Jared said. So
Tony, go ahead and turn on your mic.
He knows the most about the story.
Oh, there it is. That would be, yeah, just switch it up, and then people will be able to hear you now. Go ahead and say hello to the world.
Hello.
Awesome. So for a moment, Tony, you're going to be Jared, just as a heads up. Look, it says Jared, but now it's Tony. Yay!
Oh, wow.
So anyway, everyone, I'm off screen. I guess that's an obvious statement now that I think about it.
When we're watching the trailer, can we get it over here?
So
we
yeah.
can see,
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
So
awesome.
what will happen right now, everybody, is behind these lovely two handsome men is the story trailer, which now they're in the corner to do it. And we're going to go ahead and watch that a little bit. You can see things flicker around as I move it to prepare it to starting off. Let me pop the audio up a bit too. And so how's everybody doing? Everybody's good? Hello, Tony, mate. There you go.
Yes.
Trailer had some spoilers.
More beards.
Yes,
More
it's
beards.
another beardo. It's just,
We'll make sure that
you're learning something about Monolith.
Anyone who comes on from now on will get a beard one way or another.
It's not a hiring requirement. It really isn't.
I think it
HR
might be.
upset.
But anyway,
Let's
let's
under the radar.
we'll go ahead and start this. Pop the volume up to something that human beings can hear. And all you lovely people, give us a heads up if things sound a little loud. I'll be watching the audio to make sure that they're good. And Tony and Bob, just tell me when to pause when something exciting comes on that you want to talk about.
Okay.
Awesome.
Let's do this.
There is blood.
How much are you willing to sacrifice?
A little bit.
To suffer?
I have given up everything.
Not everything.
So we can pause here, probably.
Pause time.
Almost.
Sorry about that.
Backtrack a little bit.
Backtrack a little bit.
Back up
Yeah,
just
there's
a bit.
a lot of stuff in there.
All right, I'm sorry.
Some of which we may have to wait till E3 to talk about, but we do introduce Talion and this exchange with this woman in a cave, who you will learn more about at E3. But it definitely starts touching on some of the themes that we're exploring and in Shadow of War. I guess in Shadow of Mordor, Talion's character was pretty driven by revenge. Like you saw the images there of his family being killed. We kind of pick up with the story, maybe we don't really nail it down perfectly, but maybe a decade after the events of Shadow of Mordor, where if you remember the last thing that is said, it's time to forge a new ring. It's pretty much what they do straight away. But they lose it pretty quickly, and so a lot of the events that are depicted in the early part of this trailer are relating to that. So I'm not sure how much more we can talk about the woman.
In general, we're going to have a hard time going into much depth on any of the specific characters for you guys, so just a fair warning, but we'll give you what context we can as we step through. So one thing right out of the gate is, as Tony was touching on, the sort of revenge tale last time was much more immediate and personal. Like that's where we started the game last time, was the most visceral way to kick a character off we could come up with there. But this time it's been a while since that event, and so the stakes are a little bit different here. It's not quite as all about Talion's personal revenge. We're getting into larger, more epic human stakes, and hence going to Minas Ithil and starting the game there, as we've talked about before. Also, you've got here the other thing we're excited about this go around is getting to use these epic villains. Like you've got the Witch King and some of the Nazgul here in this shot that's on screen right now, and then you've got Sauron, of course, as the even bigger, big epic bad guy that we're excited to get to. Because last time we're not unaware that the finale of Shadow of Mordor was a little underwhelming, the final boss fight. So I feel like this time the goal has been basically just totally overcompensate and make sure that no one is even remotely disappointed with how we wrap things up here.
Many bad guys, many boss fights.
Plenty of real boss fights without quick time events. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing some of you guys are chatting a little bit about some background noise, and I'm curious, but some audios are fine. Interesting. But, and we have a couple people saying a little too quiet too.
A little too quiet.
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm still here. What's up? I'm gonna up Tony a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Lots of questions about
Luke Zaz,
the spider,
Oh.
which we can't talk about. Yes, theories of Shelob, theories of Ungoliant, perhaps another great spider. We don't know.
Well, we know.
We know.
I
get that.
You guys have
Okay,
to wait
you got
a
me.
bit
We
longer.
know.
But I also saw a comment about the different Nazgul. So you'll notice not all of them are present in this shot. We're missing a few. We are gonna meet a few Nazgul and go into some of their histories. You'll see later in the trailer a little nod to one of the kings of the Second Age. And,
Yep.
So you will get a little bit more personal detail on some of the Nazgul throughout the game.
I'm expecting Tony to put his mic up on his neck.
He was being very subtle.
It's people were saying you were quiet. I was like, why is he quiet? I don't know what to do.
I will speak up also.
Yeah.
We could probably continue.
Yeah, pop.
Sure. Let's
Pop
we
back
will
to play.
continue on.
My lord, we have located the new ring. Send the Nazgul, all of them.
All right.
I know what you fear, Tony.
For a second.
Probably a good place to pause. So this touches on those personal stakes that Bob was referring to earlier, that we start off with the Siege of Minas Ithil. We see a Palantir. This is kind of a lot of actions are set off. You remember in the announced video, we show like the forging of the ring, and there's that last sort of blast wave that issues out over Mordor, and that sets off a lot of the events that are sort of shown in the game and that are presented in the trailer. So we'll be going back to that a fair few times.
And you also see that little clip of the Palantir there. That's an important object, obviously, in the world, and it's a thing that we've got to play with here in Minas Ithil. We're playing with the timeline here the same way the films were a bit, though, where we're looking at this moment of the final siege, the last stand of the humans, the Gondorians left in Minas Ithil. So it hasn't fallen and become Minas Morgul quite yet in our timeline.
This is the first push out of like Sauron's forces. So like if you think of Minas Ithil as this frontier city on the edge of like the eastern edge of the Kingdom of Gondor, and then there's the border of Mordor. This is like the first sort of push out by Sauron. It's just sort of the first city that they take. It's just, I think it's very clear to the Gondorians and to Talion that they're not going to stop there, that they will push on. So Talion gets to help out with that in the first act of the game.
I saw a cool question from PG Player that I wanted to share, which was, when we're coming up with story, are we doing our own story, or are we working with any group of Tolkien lore specialists while we're designing it?
We have lots of help. We work with Zents and
Middle-earth Enterprises.
And we have a linguist, David Salu, who helps us with Sindarin, Black Speech, all of the languages that we use to make sure that we are perfectly on point. Everything is reviewed and they can tell us when we're flubbing the lore so we can fix it before it gets into the release game. And things that and there are changes, like Bob was saying, that in the films the time is compressed in certain places, but it's done. It's certainly not something we do on our own, but done in collaboration with the license holders.
Right. We're pretty careful to not contradict important elements.
Yes.
Obviously, trying to most importantly stay really authentic to the themes and everything. And for the most part, it's not going to rub up against anything that's already been established. But we do like to try and add some new ideas to the table and not just rehash what's been out there before.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, we try to work in that sort of negative space between these big events that are depicted, in The Hobbit and in the beginning of The Lord of the Rings. We're about sort of, 50, 60 years before the beginning of The Lord of the Rings.
Cool. Do you guys, I'm actually going to talk real quick because people have been saying I'm hard of to be heard as well. Go ahead and also, Tony, put your mic on your neck.
On my neck. Well, yeah. I'm going to put it in my mouth next. It should be.
There's a lot of people who just grab their earphones. So I'm talking real quick so everybody can hear me to let me know if it's still quiet. We got a couple questions about asking if the game is canon, which I think is an interesting question.
That is a complicated question.
It's a complicated question.
Yeah. It's probably something we shouldn't spend much time on here, as there's more weird ins and outs that are uninteresting about the technicalities of that. But, honestly, if you're going to play the game and enjoy it, and if you like the movies or the books or whatever, you can. It's not, like I said, it's not going to contradict anything, so you can decide sort of for yourself whether you're going to accept it into your heart.
Yeah, and I think I would say that there are a lot of things that may seem, canon breaking in the trailer, but you might find that they actually do fit into the canon once you see them in context with the greater story. So.
Awesome. So, all right, let's go ahead and continue on with what we're doing. Move that out of the way. There we go. So I'll be working on my mic real quick. These two guys are the main ones who should be talking right now. So I'm going to not worry about that for a little bit. And then when I'm back on, I'll fix it. Shall we continue?
Yes, sir.
The ring can enslave the minds of men.
So we can pause
Rings hold
there.
to our
That was what we were referring to earlier. So we have multiple encounters with Nazgul through the course of the game, and that was one moment in which we get to delve into the backstories. And so we find how they were corrupted by the influence of the ring, by Sauron. You have him offering up, the bringer of gifts, this ring to this mortal man, and we learn this through the course of the game with some of our key named Nazgul.
Shall we continue?
Sure.
Purpose, no matter what the cost.
I will not let them be slaughtered like my brothers at the Black Gate.
Of course, yeah. So and that's I think that moment is really important in the game. So this is right before they get to Minas Ithil, they've learned that Minas Ithil is under siege, that Minas Ithil contains a Palantir. Palantir is a very powerful artifact that they could use to sort of shift the tide of war, but also which Sauron could use. He could use it to help him militarily, but he could also use it to find the One Ring. Everyone knows it, or at least Sauron and the Nazgul know that the One Ring, the New Ring. The New Ring has been created. They don't know where it is, and it's certainly something that he'd love to get his hands on. And we have this kind of I guess it's a good moment that shows the sort of evolution in the relationship between Talion and Celebrimbor. You find Celebrimbor, who is completely obsessed with the strategy of winning this war. He's done this before. He's been fighting Sauron. He's been building armies for thousands of years. It's all about the Palantir. And Talion, who is connected enough still to his humanity that it's really about the people. This is reminiscent of events that he's been through. It's like, I will not let my brothers die like his brother at the Black Gate.
Yeah, you saw that rift start late in Shadow of Mordor when they have some conflicts about as they gain the power to start dominating their enemies, and Talion seems really hesitant and uncomfortable with this, and you've got your conflict when they go to fight the tower That moment of I thought you wanted revenge. They start getting at each other's throats a bit in Shadow of Mordor, but we're picking up with this relationship that's already grown quite a bit in the last game. But like you said, it's the difference between this epic, grand thousands of year scale elf life and this human life that is so much more immediate and grounded to
and I think when Talion Talion gets to sort of forge an army of orcs, but he also gets to fight alongside Gondorians in Minas Ithil, and it's a sort of I think it's he feels his connection to them, connection to this sort of lost humanity, this humanity that he doesn't want to let go of. He's been, but Celebrimbor's been dead for a lot longer, so he's just a cold bastard now. So he has no sympathy for the humans. They are small fry.
So here's a fun question that I don't know if we can answer, which is, what does the New Ring's inscription say?
The New Ring's inscription.
Yeah.
Let's keep that secret for now.
Okay. Secret for
I know I've seen a lot of people speculating on trying to figure out if anyone can decode it on YouTube videos. We'll see what the community can do with that.
All right. Shall we continue?
Yeah.
We need to build our army.
Whoop.
Oh, perfect place to stop. So yes, Talion builds many armies. Like the primary army that I think you've mostly spoken to on previous streams is the, using the power of the New Ring, the power of domination to forge an army of orcs. But necromancy is also a thing in the game, and these are Gondorians. These are undead Gondorians that Talion is able to enlist in his service at a certain point.
Yeah, so you've got a bunch of people are asking about the New Ring and what powers does that give, and I think one important evolution is, like, last time you didn't have the ring, you did still brand these guys and make them yours, but it was a pretty crude process, and you sort of wiped their mind in the process, and they became these sort of voiceless zombies that lost their personality. And this time, with the ring, part of it is that extra subtlety and power that you can keep these guys more intact, so the orcs that you're dominating get to retain their personalities, which obviously is fun for the relationship building side of having followers. But of course, escalating to this Aragorn-style Army of the Dead potential here, where you've got the
classic Return of the King moment.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Shall we continue?
All right.
This is just a beginning.
Sauron will not stop until all Middle-earth is dominated.
What did we see?
So maybe we circle back to that in a little bit, but again, we've got some characters here that we're super excited to talk about some more, but we haven't revealed everything yet. So you saw just a really brief flash, a glimpse of Karnan.
Yes.
Which we'll talk more about later. You'll see her show up a little bit later because she's part of the Mithril edition, that statue. So we'll get a little peek at that moment in a bit.
So we have a bunch of people saying Entwife.
We do. I see that.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just going to leave that hanging there.
Okay, we're just going to leave that hanging there.
Uh-huh.
Perfect.
We do not serve the Dark Lord! We will take this land for...
There you go.
Ooh,
Here, just,
almost.
Just back
So,
it up
yeah,
just
that-
a couple frames.
That is our statue from the Mithril edition.
Yeah,
so that
Mithril
is,
edition statue territory.
So that is Karnan as in the form of a drake fighting Targaroth, the Balrog.
So in that particular frame that we've frozen on, they look a little more in love than I'd like.
Yes, it's a mortal embrace.
But there you go. This is the moment
They are
that
fighting.
the statue will be from. So let's just
This land for our own! You fight for Mordor! You fight for the Bright Lord!
What new devilry is this?
Pause here. So the Witch King of Angmar, is the Nazgul who's leading the assault, the siege against Minas Ithil, and through his, the power of Morgul magic, is able to possess orcs and speak through them. So effectively, this is the sort of mouth of the Witch King, who is challenging Sauron. It's sort of a trick that has worked for the Witch King in the past. And so, I guess it's important to say that the Witch King has a sort of a vested interest in the fate of Minas Ithil. It's a city that he's tried to conquer before, but was routed, and so there's he has a personal stake in it.
And of course, if you're looking for a ring of power, having a magical seeing stone probably doesn't hurt. All right.
Try not to kill him too quickly. The new ring. Our ring. Is not marred with his shadow. It is perfect.
Stop there.
Pause here.
Okay, so first of all, I see, what is that? Bane of Isildur. No, it's not a new voice actor. That's Alistair Duncan again as Celebrimbor.
Yeah.
Troy is Italian. Alistair is still Celebrimbor. Same main character.
Yes.
Yeah. So you heard Celebrimbor. You heard Alistair as Celebrimbor there, actually specifically hitting on a point that is important. The way he thinks about this new ring that they forged and what differentiates it from the rings he forged with Sauron way back when.
Yeah, this is nothing like those shitty rings. This
Right.
is a pure ring.
It's pure.
Nothing bad can happen from this ring.
Nothing bad could possibly happen.
It totally won't corrupt you.
There's no chance.
But as we learn through the course of the game, where we see these Nazgul putting on rings of power, only bad things happen when you put on rings of power. That should be. If you learn anything from this game, I think that's the takeaway.
Oh, right.
Oh yes.
So this is another one of those moments where you'll learn some more about this fine lady on screen right now soon. We won't say much more about her at the moment, but we're pretty excited about her. We've been thinking a lot about her lately because she's also, been announced as part of the DLC that we're going to start working on once we finish this game. So we've been thinking about what that looks like a lot lately. It's fun. She's going to be awesome.
Is she using a ring? Can we say that she is not using a ring?
Just said it.
But can we say what she is using?
Probably not. Let's wait.
Okay.
And just leave it there for her.
Okay. Shall we continue?
Yes.
Strike down men corrupted by these rings. Do not become one of them.
When the time comes, I will do what is needed. Submit to your destiny.
That's an important point. So you see, you probably saw an earlier moment in which, Talion Celebrimbor in the form of the Bright Lord is dominating an orc, and you see the Witch King now assuming a similar posture. And so this kind of again hits on the themes of the game, in which how far do you have to go to defeat evil? Is there a line that you don't cross? And I think there are many points in the game with Talion where it's just he finds himself not going to go there. I'm so not going to go there, and finds himself having to go there. I think there's a lot of reluctance to forge. Very Boromir. There's a lot of reluctance to forging the ring, but it's Sauron. You need to forge a ring. How else are you going to defeat him? But there are other mechanics, and I think you've probably spoken about. There's domination. He has reservations about forging an army of orcs, but also shaming, which is another thing that he's very conflicted about.
Right. All right.
You guys want to take some more questions on that?
Mostly about the Mithril edition.
I don't know a lot about the Mithril edition.
Answer questions related to the story.
Oh, okay, yeah. That makes sense.
We'll move on to other questions about other things in the next part of later on in the stream.
So the Balrog is Targaroth. It's sort of this is, there are not many Balrogs left by this point in Middle-earth in the Third Age. They're kind of creatures of the First Age, and so he's one of the things that are kind of awoken by the forging of the ring, and this is sort of how you start, meet Kanan. That he's effectively her nemesis. That she put him in the ground once, and now he's rising again. And this is something that this is a problem that Talion will have to deal with, and players will have to deal with.
Right. Cool.
Run to your master and give him this message. I come for him!
Scary.
I come for him. Heard that a lot right after we released the story trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of descriptions of everything that's happening in people's pants. Like that's the go-to now.
Which is not something we do a lot of in the actual writing of the game. That's not a big factor in Lord of the Rings storytelling. Of course, you also see that final shot with the fiery Balrog in the ice. That's the ultimate question. Why is he not melting at all?
Who knows what will happen?
Who knows why, but it's pretty
A
cool.
Balrog on a frozen lake. Who knows what could happen?
Cool. So, with that, and so do you want to take a couple more questions and then
Sure.
I can jump back on?
So, who wrote the immortal words, "We bring war"? Oh, it's this guy.
Tony was the guy who did "We Bring War." Yeah.
I had no idea when I wrote those words that they would become so popular. But yes, Aslar is a favorite. But let me assure you that there are actually hundreds of orcs as cool as Aslar in the game. Maybe cooler. Maybe I don't know if the community will fall in love with the other orcs to the extent of Aslar. I think they will.
I think
you have
every
long-lasting
person
relationships
will
with
find
these
their
others.
own Aslar
Yes,
once they play the game.
that's the secret. Play the game. Find your Aslar.
Yeah. Every day that we're playing and testing here, we bump into a new guy that I'm like, oh, I hadn't heard that one yet.
It's really funny. It's like a constant conversation of like, who is your favorite orc, and it often becomes, we have all these like super unique orcs with their like custom flair and just sort of this like weird perspective on Mordor and a weird shtick, and it's just sort of like you meet that orc and that's my favorite orc now. It's like coming online like gradually, so it's just sort of like the obsessed didn't exist before. It's like now the obsessed exists. Obsessed is my favorite guy. The drunk didn't exist. The drunk is now my favorite orc.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I see. I've seen a non-stop stream of Where Is Ratbag also, which just reminds me. We in the last game, Ratbag played this great role of like being that kind of middle ground between Nemesis system and cinematic story, where he's introducing ideas, but he's got a bit more of a deep tie-in to pushing the narrative forward in the early parts of the game.
He's a campaign character ultimately.
Yeah, he's like a campaign character who's in the hierarchy, but we never really got to release him to the full sandbox and let people do with him as they will. And so this time, definitely a focus for us to try and have a more seamless blend where, first of all, the goals of the story are more seamlessly integrated. It's not as separate thing, the cinematic story missions versus the systemic sandbox stuff. They're a lot more integrated, and orcs can kind of come and go between those roles a little bit more fluidly, so you can actually have a bit more meaningful narrative purpose for any given orc that becomes your Aslar.
Yeah, it's really exciting, like to have to introduce an orc like in the campaign story, and then have him in the sandbox, like to have all those other interactions, and to have an orc that you've had multiple interactions with in the sandbox, and then they appear at this pivotal story moment, of the game. It's just like, and it's going to be different for everyone. So
yeah, that was one of my favorite things I've seen. That it took years for it to come out, but that video a little while back of someone who managed to get through Shadow of Mordor without creating a nemesis, so that our system had to pull Ratbag as his ultimate.
Oh my god, the fallback. The fallback
tower fight. Oh my, that's so good. Let's see.
Cool.
Looking through questions here, seeing if there's anything we can answer.
Conquering fortresses outside the story. Rabago is there.
I'm still here, guys. I'm not gone. I know it's scary without me, but I'm still here. My mic is quiet, so I've been quiet.
Yes, you will, as we stream our brains out next week during E3, I'm sure you'll see some glaive and hammer execution, some badass animations that use every weapon in our toolbox. That's one thing I saw scroll by there. All right.
I think with that, since we've started to move questions off of story,
Yeah.
let's, Tony, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you,
I'm going
everyone.
to move us back to the hidden thing,
Okay.
and I'm going to silence you real quick, similar to how I am. Cool. Bob, talk us out.
All right. So we're gonna do a little swap. Are you gonna swap to? Jared's gonna swap to Tony's mic since that seemed to be working better, I think.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll settle back down and talk other
Alright.
story stuff. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. It was a joy.
All right.
All right.
All right. So what's up next, Mr.
So next
Jared?
is actually going to be a vote from everybody. They're going to be asked to vote on a couple different things to just tell us what we should be talking about next.
All right. So vote opening up here to decide what we actually spend some time talking about here.
It's going to take a moment like that.
All right.
I'm going to hop on so people can see me too.
Yep.
All right, so actually, giving people a fill in on what's going down with our upcoming E3 live stream, like what this schedule is, which is up here.
Right. So the thing I know the most about is the live gameplay demos that we're streaming. So we're every half an hour or so throughout the event, kind of running your good old fashioned gauntlet of E3 stage demos, doing some Fortress Assaults, and Alien and FMA will be going through that over and over. And so you've got
Who's FMA? I know who FMA is, but I'm saying
yes.
they don't know who FMA is.
You're right. Not everybody is familiar with FMA. Am I allowed to swear here? Is that not okay? Is that okay?
You are allowed to swear here. I think people are totally cool with that.
Great.
But I think we should have you on screen so people know exactly who's swearing when this is happening.
Perfect. So FMA fucking Matt Allen is going to be doing the demos at E3, so you'll see his beautiful face and or voice streaming these demos, Fortress Assaults over and over week according to that schedule. So you should see lots of fun, weird, crazy, unexpected things happen throughout the day. I'm not as familiar personally with the other WB Games Live event stuff that was up there. Do you know what the plans are for those other streams?
I do know what's up for the plans of those other streams. So for the other streams that are up there, I'll hop back to it real quick too. For the other streams that are up here, when it's talking about the 240, 345, and the 110 to 245, those are actual live stage events that are different than the live gameplay events. So the live gameplay events are going to be ones where we're doing demos, actually talking about the game and being like, watch it play, and that kind of thing. Versus the other ones are going to be ones that are talking about the game from like Michael Blatter and like have a host and that kind of thing. So it'll be a little different. But yeah, let's see. I'm real quick going to check and get us a knowledge on what we should be talking about next for you all. I accidentally forgot to hit a button that said keep changes. All right, so it looks like you guys have the most, literally, are cut down the middle between us talking about Nemesis or us talking about
it's a hung vote.
The world. Hung vote. So for those of you who got an invalid vote or beast or gear, go ahead and change your vote real quick because it'll keep track of it. How am I sounding now, by the way? I am so upset about the mic. I tested all 3 mics before I started, and they were working great right in the beginning. But anyway, it looks like World is actually taking.
Oh, it's back and forth.
Taking
it's
the cake now. World's it's still down the middle.
Oh wow.
This happens a lot. A lot of the votes that people have are very, very down the middle. I'm always impressed with you guys for doing that. So okay, now we're fight. Oh, that was awesome. Cool. I didn't know that Tony said we bring more. Like that was his line. And it's just so interesting how many people just latched onto that. Nemesis is taking the lead for this one. All right, so I'm going to close out this vote because we're going to choose Nemesis for this now because it took the lead. So, Nemesis. This is how we're going to do this little bit. Basically, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to ask pretty much almost any questions that you guys want to ask regarding to the Nemesis that we've shared with you before. Some of you guys have been asking questions outside of the subjects that we've been on, and I will skip over those. Just giving you guys a heads up, that will happen that way. But the general thought process with this is that we're going to kind of fill in a little bit about what is a nemesis and that kind of give you guys a kind of high level, and then you can start asking tons of questions. Thomas Hurin, vote beast, damn it. Sorry, that's funny. We'll get to that later, though, depending on how that goes. Let's see, sound is good, background noise seems to be gone.
Excellent.
Might have been the previous mic causing it. Ah, that mic. Cheese it 2145. Will we get sword stealers? I think that's a good question.
Oh man, I can feel your gaze, Cheese It.
Feel the gaze.
Well, we've seen Swordbreaker. That's all we've seen so far.
Oh yeah.
Swordbreaker's gonna have to be satisfied with that for now.
No, we can't. It is not enough. All right, I'm gonna give you guys an overall view. I'm just making sure that everything looks good. Audio, I have a bunch of different people tell me how audio is now, so that's why I was checking and doing all that kind of thing. So let us begin with the top. So within Shadow of War, every grunt, every captain, every war chief, every overlord, these guys are all interacting together. You can have a grunt become a captain, become their war chief, become their overlord. Each one of them has various levels of strengths and weaknesses, which change up a ton of different ways to play around each one of these guys. Like Swordbreaker, it's Oleg beats you down, you die, cracks your sword, and then opens up a whole new experience because now you want to get that guy. And also when you kill him, you get a better version of whatever sword that they broke. So that's awesome and also terrifying at the same time.
Exactly. I mean, it's entirely possible that you keep trying to get your sword back, and he keeps killing you, and eventually rises to the rank of Overlord and becomes your ultimate nemesis. But it does mean, as long as he's around, that when you do eventually get your revenge, you'll get the best possible version of that sword you liked enough to have on in the first place.
So I saw a question related to him specifically, which I'm now very curious about. If he breaks your sword and you die to him again and he breaks the second sword, which one do you get back?
I think it's highly likely that he'll just keep the one sword in his pocket for you there, and not keep wrecking your gear. But we'll see. Anything's possible. We're still balancing and tuning things. So
cool, awesome. Other little bit of it. Remember that you can have there are bodyguards and followers, and these are individuals who come out into the world, and these individuals will help protect you if you are in a last chance situation, like what we saw Mozu, the gotcha guy from the first gameplay trailer, shot at our Thrak in the head so that he wouldn't kill us. That's actually, we've seen that same archer savior moments happen too. So that's another advantage that goes in that way. And now, so let's start answering some just questions that pop up here. If you advance time, can a war chief become an overlord from Panda Warrior?
It is possible. I think the best case for that is somebody who does something really badass that will get him recognized. So just passing time by itself, unless they're doing something cool to gain some recognition, they're not as likely to jump that big of a tier and really just take over an entire fortress. But killing the Gravewalker is a pretty big deal, so that's always a good possibility for them to jump into a higher level of leadership.
So the Overlord and the War Chief can be replaced if you just keep moving time forward.
Yeah, mostly it's about what cool things they accomplish. So if all you're doing is saying, let me just wait another day, not as likely. The guys in the pit will keep doing their missions and kind of beating each other down and going on beast hunts and doing all that kind of stuff. Let's see. I see a bunch of questions about various dynamics around Blood Brothers. That is going to be a really fun system full of nuances, especially if you start playing with dominating one half of a pair of Blood Brothers and seeing what kinds of things they do to each other. My personal favorite will be watching people pit Blood Brothers against each other, forcibly command one of them to kill the other. That'll be fun.
That's going to be dark. That's a dark one. I saw a question from Hampus, which I think is a good one, which is, can you have a war chief in your army killed by someone else in your army without your consent?
Without your consent?
So,
well, orcs are assholes, so anything is possible. There's a lot of fun little quirks of personality that can bubble up, and a guy can there's always that potential for a good friend to betray you in this world. So at that point, if your other war chiefs are around, then they become enemies of a guy who's flip side. So that can always go badly.
If you guys see an embarrassed face from me real quick, I grabbed the wrong keyboard for the wrong computer, and I had a mini panic moment as I was trying to type things. And now there's just a bunch of comments in our Twitch now of just me being like, beast, try again, beast. each time as I'm setting up the next vote. We can take a couple more questions as we're going through. I'm just preparing the next vote for more conversation. Let's see. Ooh. I like this one from Real Wardum. What is the most weirdest unconventional orc weapon?
The weirdest unconventional orc weapon.
That's a fun one.
That's interesting. I know this is a polarizing one, but I always find the rat on the end of the poker to be a fun one.
I've never seen that one. The rat at the end of a poker. That is awesome. Does he have a special name that goes with that guy or anything like that?
It's entirely possible. We'll see what Spiffy does with that.
Ooh. So, it's Spiffy. He's in charge. Spiffy is people love Spiffy. I've been seeing them as a request for him to be on stream at one point too.
He'd be good.
Let's see. Do we have to die against an orc captain and again to get a nemesis? Oh, interesting. For Prashu1616. So how would a nemesis sort of show up? I guess is his question.
Well, there's that's a bit of a personal question. What bothers you? What pisses you off? So our the lead designer who is entirely focused on the nemesis system, Ogi, he has this sort of habit of watching playtests or listening to people come up, throughout development, people come up to your desk and say, hey, this thing just happened to me. It was horrible. I hate it.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with you guys? Can we change the design? And usually, if it's about an orc, about a captain behavior or something like that, Hoagie will just say, do you hate him now? And if they hate him now, then he's like, good.
It's good design.
So, there's a lot of weird ways that people can really get under your skin and make a nemesis out of themselves there. And there's more ways this game that they can undermine you, since we have a lot more to the game with managing followers and the relationships there. So,
I got 2 questions that I liked. Digit lag, can a Graug get promoted? No. Nor can a Karagor, nor can a Drake.
Right.
Bikini Bodhi had a question, which was, there was a video that's going around that I'll mention to these guys too, of me saying, that's fantastic, it's awesome, or gotcha, repeated over and over after all these different times. He's asking if you saw that video.
I haven't seen that video yet. Could you forward it to me?
Yeah, we could forward it. I'm sure it might show up in chat all of a sudden now. Let's take 2 or 3 more questions and then start the next thing, and we'll eventually then just have a rush, whatever questions you guys want to do after that. Let's see. There's a lot of questions about the Swordbreaker. Everybody's psychic doctor, can Swordbreakers break other Uruk weapons?
Other Uruk's weapons? That's a good question.
Good question.
I'm not actually sure. That's another fun thing about making this game, is it's so huge and it's such a weird dynamic sandbox.
Right.
That I have literally, even on recent press tours showing the game off, I'll see some features that I was like, oh, we got that in? I didn't even realize someone did that.
Oh, that's awesome. There's another that's awesome. I saw another a Viper. I think it was Viper James was the name, and it was a question based off of would there be chain or flail weapons, and there's actually an image of that's gone of a guy using a giant chain with hooks on the end of it.
Yeah, that's one of the tribe weapons. So.
And for those of you asking about tribe weapons, we will do more discussion on tribes. Right now, specifically, we're not going to explain all of them, but that is one of the tribe weapons. Is it terror chain was the word that we've been using now for it?
Right, yeah, the terror chain that
chains.
does the big kind of whipping around those hooks. Yeah.
Here's a great question from Panda Warrior. Can Talion acquire scars? That's a fun one.
That's a tricky one. I'm gonna have to move past that.
Ooh, what a fun one. Let's see. So let's take one more question, and I'll let you pick this one out.
All right, let's see. Can you find war chiefs in the open world? So, similar to last time, the war chiefs are leading. They're the ones stocking the fort, bringing the big upgrades.
Right.
The overlord is in charge of the overall fort above them, but they are manning the big, the siege weapons that you see. Those big Graugs launching stuff, or the spouts on the walls. Those are upgrades to the forts that the war chiefs bring. So if you want to disable those, you go and take out a war chief in a similar way. You got to draw him out first. He's hiding out in the fort usually. However, with that said, if he defeats you, then there's a good chance that he will just go on a feast, throw a feast somewhere out in the open to celebrate having completely owned you, which means that you have an opportunity to go get him out in the open world after having drawn him out from that mission if he won, which is usually, for me at least, is an opportunity to sneak around and poison everyone he knows.
Oh, I was about to be like, how petty, but honestly, I was like, God, that's horrible in a way too, and awesome. Cool. All right, so we got a couple. Actually, now I do want to see one more because I keep seeing it pop up, which is, can a grunt get promoted without killing you?
There are some ways that grunts get promoted without killing you.
There you go. All right, so those are our questions for Nemesis. We will have some more Nemesis questions at the very end if you guys want to, because we'll just have a general. But now we're going to open up the vote again for a new subject to discuss. Should we talk about beasts? Should we talk about gear? Should we talk about skills? Or should we talk about the open world? Go. So you'll have exclamation mark vote beasts, exclamation mark vote gear, exclamation mark vote skills, or exclamation mark vote world. That's always a hard word to use. Exclamation mark. Which is funny because I say it every time we start opening votes. All right, so right now, world is taking the lead. So now, just to give you guys an idea of what world would be, is that basically we've seen a lot of people asking questions about like, what do you do in the game? And so I wanted to give kind of a list of like a huge amount of stuff that you do, and then we can talk a little bit about Fortress Assaults if you have questions.
Sure.
Works out that way. Basically, it's world. It's world. It's going to be world.
It's world.
World it is for all y'all. All right, so I'm going to wait a little bit more just so that you guys can have your votes counted, because it's always funny to see invalid vote grow, because I see you guys go like, vote Aslar, vote Mr. J, vote Jared, or vote Bobberts. Also, a lot of people talked about your shirt in the beginning.
The Suffer Me Now.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite
So you guys
little
don't
swag
just
shirts.
like just pure midnight, not for you. Fine, let it slide. All right, it looks like open world's the one. So we're gonna close the poll for now, and so this is how we're gonna talk about this. Vote gotcha, nice. So open world is I'm gonna basically let's start with the first thing. What do you do in Shadow of War? Well, there's the main story. It's big, more expensive. We just talked a bunch about it and how much we cared about making it better this time. I mean, it's something that's going to be just, it's huge. And I mean, we've thrown around hours and stuff like that. And we've said like the game will be like about 3 times longer than it took to beat Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, obviously with a giant open world game,
really
the
depends.
bigger it gets to, the more divergent the experiences become with how people decide to spend their time.
Someone just gets gear the entire time and it's like, all right, 30 hours and I guess I'll start the story. Like
someone tries to capture every single line of dialogue that you get after a captain gets killed by ghouls, for example.
That's gonna be a fun one. So there's that. Main story is a big one. Related to that, but also unrelated to that, are the side missions related to the side characters. We have side missions now that are unrelated to the main story, but they develop. Or I mean,
again, loosely, you're still like exploring the core stories of the main characters who are pushing the narrative forward in all kinds of dimensions. So yeah, there's a blurrier line, I guess, between what's a main story mission and what's a side mission in some ways because of the effort we've put to try and elevate the bar on the side missions as well.
Right.
And you've got the obviously the expanded Nemesis system to occupy your time with out there,
right?
As well, and then there's all the overlaps that start to crisscross between those elements.
That's awesome. And there's another that's awesome. I'm trying to change my vocabulary after seeing that video. So I'm seeing this question come up a lot, and so the question is, how many regions are there? And we can't answer how many regions, but I can tell you how many we've actually shared so far, because we've showed Nirnid, we've showed Kirathungel. You're gonna have to correct me on how to say it. It's our lava region, Barad-dûr.
Gorgoroth.
Gorgoroth. Gorgoroth.
Barad-dûr is the tower that you see in the distance there, that opening shot. But
I am so embarrassed.
That's in the region of Gorgoroth.
Gorgoroth. Then we have Minnesithil.
Right.
And then we've also shown I'm blanking on one.
Saragost, the snowy mountain.
And that was the first thing we showed. Oh man. So that's 5, and each one of these are more expansive in so many ways over the 2 that we had in Shadow of Mordor. From you have more height, you have more interesting things happening in them. The creatures are different depending on what area that you're in.
You got a lot more unique environments to explore there too. So that was another criticism we definitely took to heart from last game, was being a little too samey throughout the regions, and so pushing ourselves to diversify a lot more in these different areas.
Oh, that's awesome too. There's another one. That's awesome. That's fantastic. And gotcha. Or the ones.
I'll send you a thesaurus link afterwards, and we'll practice.
Excelsior.
Have you guys played Horizon Zero Dawn? Yeah, it was so good.
I've yet to, but
So good.
I'm excited to give it a shot. So let's see. Other things that are related to this. There's also Celebrimbor's Past. There are missions related to that you can play, which, like, in that regard, will also open up access to certain items from, like, his weapons as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
There's also collectibles. One of the collectibles is related to Celebrimbor's Barrows, which is also a fun one throughout the whole world. There's other things you can do.
Yeah, some more activities and more lore to dig into if you're into that, to go find all the secrets that we've hidden around and start to piece together different aspects of the history here.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the nice things about starting in Minas Ithil there too, is it's this city with so much history that we can mine, and humans who have an interest in these kind of ancient relics to
Oh, yeah.
learn about. Yeah.
I'm excited about that one, too. Because Minas Ithil is one of the places I've played a bunch of time in. You see something funny?
Where is Ratbag in the world? Because we're talking about the world, so why not try and get us to keep talking about Ratbag?
I mean, it's been a thing since Shadow of War was announced. Actually, Dave has asked that question every single time. Dave, we've seen you, man. I recognize you each time. It's almost like it's almost nice. It's like, oh, he's here. Thanks, Dave. Oh, which reminds me of a fun thing. There's a gentleman that I've been talking to online. His name is Josh, and he's, I believe, joining the military, and he's actually being shipped out right when Shadow of War is supposed to be coming out, and so he can't play the game. So if we can give I'm so sorry, Josh. That sucks, kind of. I guess, how would we do that? Sorry, high five.
Oh, virtual sorry, buddy.
Sorry, high five. Oh man, it's he had a request because he was like, "Hey man, is there any way I can like have any chance with it?" I was like, "I have nothing I can give you. I'm so sorry." And he's like, "All right, well, shout out on stream." I'm like, "Shout out on stream." So, there we go. High five.
There we go.
Press F to pay respects. Everybody, please put an F in to pay respects. Oh man, you get that reference, I hope. Good man. Oh, of course. What am I saying? It's I think that's actually we should keep that. We should always use F to pay respects for anything. That's a good one. So with that, let's go ahead and ask it. Wow, this is beautiful. Seeing all the Fs to pay respects.
Oh.
Josh, this is for you, man. Everybody
he's
cares.
not actually. He's not dead, but
no.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're
great.
We're paying respect to him. Oh, even from Full Metal Viking. Nice to see you, dude. So as we are going through this, these are a lot of the things that you can do in the open world. We wanted to share this because fortresses are a part of the game. But that was, there's a huge amount of other things that exist that you can interact with.
We've been getting a lot of those questions since all the first stuff we showed is Fort Assault, that, people are always curious, like, so is everything in the game a Fort Assault? Is that what, it's a Fort Assault game?
Right.
And those are some really epic moments. They're kind of the climax of the region when you build yourself up to that point where you can take over. And of course, we still try to sprinkle new things to do into the world after you own the fort. So there's a transformation. You're in control, and now you've got some more opportunities. But still, there's a ton to do. It's still a giant open world game with all kinds of open-ended goals and things to pursue. I mean, one of the biggest things that started to really click lately around the team is the whole gear system and everything like that.
Right.
That does become a little goal into itself, especially with little challenges baked into the Nemesis loot when you get the guy who was that, really annoying villain who did something that Hoagie designed that he made sure you hated. And then he gives you that sword or that piece of armor or whatever with its challenge to upgrade it into its perfect form, and then you get distracted with that for a while. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
That's a fun one. There was I like that bit too. Let's see. There was a question that I saw that was about how many fortresses there are. We haven't announced that yet. So I think that one, we're going to leave it at that right now. Let's
see.
But
you have to worry about your fortresses getting attacked all the time. Is it going to be annoying? It's not going to be annoying. We're going to tune it just right.
Just right. Do it perfectly. I'm going to double up chat on both sides. We're having double chats, everybody. You guys exist on both sides of our screen right now. So, let's see. Ooh, here's a couple questions, which was... I don't know if I should bring that one up. Can you find Nazgul in the open world?
Find Nazgul in the open world. I'm gonna have to skip that.
I have to skip that one? I have actually a question for Death Knight 126. Why are you wanting everybody to chant lore? Are you asking us to talk about lore? Or are you asking us, I'm curious about that one, because I saw a lot of lore was repeated. And I was just like, I don't know. Well, here we go. Here's Kawaze Tomato, do you have to defend your fort?
So we have talked about the fact that once you own it, it's going to come under assault at some point. We haven't talked about the mechanic that drives that or the loop that drives that, but you know it'll happen. So you do want to try and optimize who you've got in charge and what their kind of synergies are. So that's something I'm genuinely pumped to dig into more once we get more info out there. But yeah.
Oh, that'll be awesome. It's there's another one. So related to defensive forts, remember that you will actually set up war chiefs along the walls that will have certain fort augmentations that will help you defend the fort. Like what we saw when we were attacking a fort, you can see on the, I guess, your guys' right side of the screen, certain augmentations that the war chiefs were bringing when we were attacking them. You set up your fort in a similar way where you choose what those defense upgrades should be. And then there's also...
So I said, Prashu, can we take a fortress without an army? So that's a thing that we kind of went back and forth with as we were developing the game, and we got to a point a while back where we're like, you know what, I think it's actually cooler to let people just go start the fort assault mission, even if they haven't prepared very well, because there's that debate of like, do we let people just jump in over their heads and get destroyed, or do we, funnel people to do the kinds of prep that will make it the most satisfying version? But we decided, you know what, just leave it in your hands, let you go throw your face against that wall and just die in the poison spouts with death raining down upon you, and realize that having friends is good. You can go collect some valuable allies and they will make this easier. But there absolutely will be, I'm sure, a few talented folks who will just take every fortress without any help.
Oh, absolutely. I see a couple people shouting, yes, let me get destroyed, or Leroy Jenkins. We absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing people trying to do that. That's going to be fantastic fun. So, all right. Let's see. I'm going to take one or two more questions related to this, and then we'll move on to the next stuff. Let's see. Oh, that's an interesting question from Rhythm Beats. Can you clear the map of your troops to take over the map again? I think the way that you're asking this question is, this is an action open world RPG as opposed to a real-time strategy game kind of thing.
Right. I mean, there's kind of an element in Shadow of Mordor as well, where you build your army. If you build your army so effectively that you've actually filled the entire hierarchy with branded guys, that there's not as much to fight anymore. Of course, there's more you can make your orcs do this time around, so you can just have them all kill each other off and watch and just enjoy the sport for a while and clear up some space to let some enemies come filter in. But there will always be enemies trying to bash their way in and kill your guys off and take up positions as captains in the area.
So Sauron is always assaulting you, kind of thing. So that's, if you will always feel like there's a challenge there. Here's a question from Truly Spoken 26, and this is one I've seen kind of popping around a little bit, which is, can you have an orc join you in any way other than dominating them?
Can an orc join you without you dominating them? Well,
it's kind of a layered answer.
There's some complications that I will try and ignore around just in-flight feature development kinds of things. But the one for sure way that orcs will join you without you personally dominating them is the fact that we had this a little bit last time, that when you dominate a powerful guy and you go on that assault mission, he's not just one captain joining you. He's bringing his boys with him. So you didn't actually have to personally go up and put your hand on everybody's face. You get the powerful ones, they command some authority, and they'll bring more with them.
Exactly. So basically, it's if you dominate the higher up, then the people who work underneath them generally are the ones who get dominated as well. So okay, let's see if there's any more.
We run into captains we've met in other regions, hopefully in the most rage-inducing ways.
In the most rage-inducing ways. What a good answer to that. I like someone asked if there's a new ring fidget spinner. No. No, I don't.
Is that what you want from the Mithril edition?
No, it's like, you could have this dragon or this little spinny thing. And I bet people will choose this spinny thing too. Let's see. Let's take one more question, and then we'll open up the votes again for the next set. So let's see. Hammerhead 45, just as a heads up, that's a long question. It's hard to read that as you guys are going through in chat. So I'm trying to catch up to it. But it's just a lot. If you can parse it into a smaller one, that would be easier.
If you get all the, if you got the fort of the area, are all the orcs friendly in that area to get?
You have an idea what the question is saying?
Yes. So, I think I was saying that a little bit a minute ago, but you will have a lot more allies in that area, and the fortress itself will be full of your guys once you conquer the fort. But the further you get from that stronghold, you are gonna always have to deal with some of Sauron's forces. It's a dangerous world still, but you've just established at least a base of operations.
I'm just gonna grab this one real quick. Okay. Dugza the Stout. What is Dying Command? That was one of our orcs in the live gameplay.
Dying Command, yeah. That's one of those traits on the Commander Advanced class where when he goes down, so commanders usually have gangs. They're more about, bringing their friends and buffing their friends. So Dying Command is a trait where when he dies, when you see that happen in a stream, they kill a commander in a stream, you'll see the guys immediately around him just rage out and start going nuts and swinging with uncounterable attacks at you. So it could be a dangerous moment right after finishing off a commander.
Oh yeah. So it enrages their followers. So with that, we're gonna move on to the next set of votes for you guys to do. Let me grab that. I just hopped over and I love to see your little dance thing that you did for the enraged people. All right. Cool. All right. I can do this. Yes. All right. Beasts, next ones. Gear, and then skills. So Hammerhead's trying again with the long question. It looks like you're asking about the Overlord's speech. Why is Talion up there? And we've actually talked about that a little bit, related to that it was through the course of development, we found that we wanted the player to be at the top of the fortress at the end, and it made sense for Talion to do the speech at that point.
He's trying to command this army. They have to bend to his will. He's got to be the guy in charge up there.
So with that, I mean, we still have Overlord speeches when you're assaulting a Overlord fort, which is interesting because it's like if your fort gets taken back, as Sauron does attack, we talked about that again. There's more conversations again. So I guess, if you want to have more talks from those Overlord guys, just keep losing. All right, it looks like Beast is currently at 50% of the votes out of skills and gear. Cool. Vote all of the above. Nice, Dugza. Everything. We'll get to everything. Tyrionen, how has the respawn time killed enemies? I have no idea how to answer your question. I'm sorry, man. Oh, here's it from Tizon Boy. Is the speech going to be the same every time Talion wins?
No, it's not.
Nope. There we go. So it looks like Beast is still staying at 50%, just about. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about some of the beasts. Now, you guys will get excited because one of the things I'll talk about for beasts is going to be spiders. But first, we'll get involved with the Drake. So, questions now about the new beasts and kind of the new interactions, because one of the new, additions to gameplay, especially if you're on a Drake, you can literally get a Drake's eye view of the world now, traveling the world as a Drake and flying around as this guy, shooting fire, and if someone is hurt by beasts, there's an opportunity as a Drake there. If someone is enraged by fire, you can burn them with a flame. There's a lot of interaction that way.
My favorite is snatching them up off the ground and carrying them somewhere fun and dropping them.
Somewhere fun, like a bouncy house.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh man, the Mordor bouncy castle. That's pretty awesome. That reminds me of a comment that when the Uruks in Lord of the Rings said meat's back on the menu, they have a concept of what a restaurant is. Which then
got menus.
Which out of that one, it's just is it really hard to get into the Mordor restaurant? And it's well, it's not a place you simply walk into. Bad jokes.
Awesome, fantastic.
Gotcha. So Drakes then let's also talk about Graugs.
Water bombs for Balrogs. Yes, it's an entirely water balloon based fight.
Oh man, the Balrog just turns into solid magma. It's no. So then, how many bouncy houses will there be? At least 5. So, let's talk a little about Graugs too. So Graugs, you've seen us play them in the live gameplay. They can climb up. they can smash through walls. They can pick up stones and throw them.
Right, right.
We've seen an ice crowd chucking an ice ball in one of the open world trailers. We've seen in the fire crowd could breathe fire in one of the thumbnails that we've had for, and actually on our schedule thing right here, you can see. Oh, that's stream over. Sorry, we've seen this one. JK, we're still here. You can see this guy's breathing fire.
Yeah.
So
we've got the elemental Graugs that you've seen a couple of like that are going to be the bigger, badder, more rare guys that if you can break them down and dominate them and mount them, you've got some more crazy tools to play with. Those guys are really fun, and the Graugs are also across the board just more mobile this time. Last time we had some very, very basic, like you can get up a little wall if it's the right height, but they can do quite a bit more this time and really chase after that terrified guy who you ran after.
Oh yeah, right. I'm gonna interrupt myself, or us, I guess. That's a weird statement. Billy Bob 396 wanted a quick question. What is the green drake? Because we answered that actually during the story segment.
Yeah, that's the Karnan. So you saw in the story trailer Karnan Drake smashing into Targorath Balrog, the Mithril Edition statue moment. So Karnan is a mysterious nature spirit we'll talk more about, but she can take the form of various beasts and creatures, so that does fit in here.
Right. So there you go. That's the green drake a little bit. But it isn't necessarily like a set of elemental drakes like there are elemental Graugs.
Right. I mean, she's got her own special powers, but the drakes, the rest of the drakes in the open, the wild drakes are fiery.
Right. Which there was another question, which is, could a wild creature attack during a fort assault? And actually, you could bring in a wild drake and has no master and will burn everything.
There's all kinds of ways those creatures can pop up in the sandbox during fort assaults all over the place.
Oh yeah. So let's see. Oh, no, then the Caragors make a return. You can summon them now. You can actually summon any of the Drake, the Graug, or the Caragor. And there's also, like, the Caragor is still super athletic, is able to jump up and climb alongside Talion. You use the big glaive now while you're riding on there.
His combat's been updated, his movement, he's even more mobile. He used to be pretty mobile. He's even more mobile now. There's, the stealth that we had in the DLC last time. That's just kind of default part of the toolbox now, so you can climb up and sneak along an edge and pounce down on a guy and chew his neck out.
Oh, that's awesome. So the Caragors be like with their new stealth abilities, and there's certain swarm kind of capabilities or pack capabilities with Caragors as well.
Right, so we updated their combat to be a little bit more along the same lines of the core, like on foot combat, where you're attacking, you're countering, you're building up might and firing off your special moves to spend the might like that. So there's some more cool stuff that they can bring to the table if you want to summon one in and hop on and go crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm hoping we'll see a bunch of that in the streaming next week.
Woo! So one of the things I see a question is people are asking if the Lord of the Hunt versions of these creatures are going to be showing up.
So what we've done is, so we showed some of the elemental Graugs, so that vomit to screen poisony guy that we had in the Lord of the Hunt DLC, that'll be one of the possible elementally type Graugs that we've got, the poison guy there. And the Karagaths that we had in the DLC, the big mechanical change for them was that we added the stealth, and you could sneak around and do stealth kills on them. And so we've just kind of rolled that into the basic Caragor abilities this time around. They've all gotten a little more agile and sneaky.
Awesome. There was a question from, do you have to land a Drake to get off of it? No. You got Jaco Brimbor, which is a great name. Jaco Brimbor? No, you jump off. It's actually, I believe
fly through the air and then go into range mode and snipe somebody or shadow strike off and to a rooftop somewhere.
Right. There's a couple questions that are getting off topic of the beasts real quick, so I'm going to just bring us back into that. We'll have more of a general conversation about anything once we've kind of gotten through all our subjects. But people asking questions about certain saves, or people asking questions about if we can get into buildings. I mean, you can climb buildings as a Graug, or you can't fly into buildings on the Drake. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
They're
pretty good at avoiding things. The Mumakils or Oliphants, Timothy Oliphants, specifically in Deadwood.
There you go. Let's see. So then finally, let's talk a little bit about your guys' favorite, the spiders. So the spiders that you've seen, you can summon them similarly as, but they're a slightly different ability, and you saw that in one of the Minas Ithil videos talking about the Predator skill tree specifically.
Right.
And you can see the spiders that can exist, and these guys give you some more ways to play, being that they add poison, so when they can work with poison abilities, and then on top of that, people can be scared of spiders and go, oh no, and run away from these guys. And there's also that almost distraction, like I'm being covered in spiders moment that you can do with them as well. And so those guys really add an extra bit to it. And I've also seen Urix just stomp on them too, which is always a little bit of a no spooter moment. No rideable spiders, however.
Can summon a swarm of spiders. There's a few ways to get spiders to show up. You can get quite a few going at a time.
Oh yeah.
I also saw passing by, it's gone now, so I don't see who asked it, but the yes, you can summon drakes to fight alongside you. You don't have to be riding them. That is a pretty late game upgrade that you got to work towards. It's a big deal, but it is possible. It is possible.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Cool. I keep saying that's awesome.
There's also, I see, can you summon swarms of ghouls? There are a number of different ways to get ghouls into an area. So similarly to, again, we added that in the DLC, Lord of the Hunt DLC last time, the ghoul bait that you can kind of shoot like the Karagor bait last time. So there's going to be that kind of stuff around it. Different ways, different skill upgrades and things that can help add more tools to the toolbox of trying to get yourself surrounded by ghouls.
Right. Come Shot 11. Great name. Can multiple drakes be in one siege? Yes.
Yep.
It's you can do that, especially if it's a feral tribe. They have drake bait that exists.
Yeah, do a little
Can I drain-
aerial dogfighting.
Oh, that's awesome. Lieutenant Blaze, can I drain a spider just like rats? Yes. Ellie did that on a stream. She drained the spider when we were all watching because we were all talking about how cool it looked, and she killed it.
Get a little health back. Yeah.
Let's see. Can orcs hitch a ride with you when you're on a drake? Official Asian G. As Michael DePlatter said, that would be chaos. No.
But
Ooh, there's an addendum.
you can make them hitch a ride with you by swooping down and carrying them away
Without their consent.
without their consent. There's no consensual buddy riding.
That sounds terrifying in a way.
Unless,
see. Unless. Alright, so this is unrelated to beasts, but because we're talking about riding, Ogbor the Plaguebringer. Can we ride Ologs? It's how you. I know it's one of those another layered ones.
Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah. Maybe
but
yes.
it
I
depends.
mean, you'll probably see that happen next week. Is my guess.
They had the question basically popped up originally because there was an Olog on stream that had an anti-mount skill. So that was where everyone's like, "What is that?"
There's some mechanics around that you'll hopefully see Ellie just go nuts with next week. That's well said.
All right. Okay, so I love it, Kronos. Long pause. We had to think about. It's an important question. All right, let's see. So Urix do not ride drakes. That's just not the case. You will see. I mean, we showed Nazgul riding the fell beasts in the story.
Right.
Like so. Let's see. Can we house beasts in our forts from Hallower 1980?
I mean, there
beasts are
will be beasts housed in your forts.
Yeah. So, but it's not like
You don't like go
it's
up
not
to
Monster
each beast
Rancher.
and say you, and then walk over to a cage and go in here. Wait.
Right.
You don't manage it like that, but yeah, if you walk around your fort, you'll find some beasts.
Caps Lock keeps asking about the Kara Corgi. That's only in our dreams, man. Just up here, just in the imagination. Okay. Let's see. I think we'll take one more question, and then we will move on to skills and gear as our next discussion.
Okay.
Will Sub-Zero be DLC? That's the question. Done.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, sure. Sub-Zero.
Just have Mortal Kombat put Talion in, and then we'll put Sub-Zero in. It'll be great.
Perfect. I mean, Celebrimbor can use ice. It's a thing.
true.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Still more questions that are unrelated to beasts. We'll be skipping over them, specifically like Togenics. That's a question about the DLC. We're talking about beasts at the moment. So just as a
Urux and Ologs ride beasts. So I think you've probably seen some Karagor riding captains roaming around in the stream. So yeah, there's some mounting going on there.
Graugs, however, they can be summoned in by an opponent, but they won't be ridden by an opponent. Let's see. How often can we encounter trained Karagors? Joint Warner 1, a lot.
Yeah.
Like, there will be lots of them in cages or being ridden and that kind of thing. Will Gollum play an important role? He is beastly after all from G. Mangalo. Good try. Let's do one actual one because I've just been grabbing something that making me giggle. There's a couple good ones in here. I like, can some beasts only be harmed by certain elements? And I like, can they summon rare beasts? Those are interesting questions.
Can they summon rare?
I'm assuming rare beasts.
So they're, if the question is, can Talion summon rare beasts, then yeah, we've got some various upgrades mechanics that you can work towards to keep upgrading that stuff. The Nemesis system is full of surprises, so you know.
Full of surprises.
There's only one size of spiders. Yes, pocket size.
Pocket size, the pocket spider. So, let's begin the next set of votes, which are skills and then gear. Those are the next two that we're doing. So, we're going to be talking about either if you guys want to talk about swords and legendary weapons and loot, or if you guys want to talk about some of the new skills and specifically builds in that regard. Let's see. Opened new poll. Uh-oh. Oh, you guys aren't voting yet. That's what's going on. For a moment, I thought I did it wrong, but I see everybody's voting. And it's working now. Yay! Cool. So, I'm going to reiterate this again at the end of the stream, but I wanted to, during as everybody's voting for this, do a quick chat a little bit about how E3 streaming is going to look. So, if you guys can humor me for a second, boop, this thing that's up here, June 13th, 2:40 to 3:45 p.m. is a live stage event where we're doing discussion and that kind of thing. June 14th and 15th at 1:10, 2:45, same idea. And then the next lower part are streams that are going to be live gameplay streams. So those are ones that we will have up again. Also, when we do stream over, I'll pop that up there so it's just there so people can see that. And you guys can then, I'll be in chat on those days too and interacting and being involved, but you'll be seeing other people doing presentations, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Gear is winning at 47.4 versus skills at 44.9. You guys have been keeping it close. That is awesome.
Oh, it's tight.
It is tight. It is now even closer. There is 8% of you, 9% of you, if I round it up.
Just throwing your vote away.
Just throwing your vote away as an invalid vote. There's 10% of you now throwing it away as invalid. So I saw a question, from Gilgalad888, will there be VODs for the streams? Yes, there will be VODs from these streams. So that is true. Let's see. Skills is now winning. You guys are making this difficult on us.
Hi, Montreal QA. Hi.
Montreal QA, hey, what's up? Will those streams be on Twitch or WB Games? Awesome Ghost 58. We will have them on our Monolith Live, so you can come here and watch Shadow of War on the WB stuff, as well as from our studio stuff, or our presentations. And you guys are going back and forth with gear, skill. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait some seconds. 11 higher votes invalid now too. That's really funny. Whenever it says added one or more votes to the poll, that's it keeping track of the fact that they're invalid votes. Can spiders run and blow up other Uruks? Are they Dugs of the Scout? Are they carrying explosives? I'm just gonna choose gear because it's winning most of the time. Gear it is.
All right.
We're gonna talk about gear.
All right.
Alrighty then. So let's talk a little bit about the gears, and I'm gonna finish because we actually will talk a little bit about spiders and explosions for the skills, which now probably would have shifted the vote if I announced that earlier. So gear. So with gear, the way that I want to remind everybody, is there's common gear, rare gear, epic gear, and legendary. Gear is generally happens when, so you kill a captain, and depending on your level, you'll get a certain amount of gear from that, or a certain level of gear from that.
Right.
And then depending on if you, let's say the guy was scared of fire and you burned them, you will have an increased potential chance of getting like a fire sword or fire protection or something on armor. And let's see, how does Jared get away with being such a sexy beast? I see my name, and that was my response. Awesome Ghost, thank you. I need to focus for a second though, 1 second. Where was I? If you go to something like Fire Gear, yes. And so if you get something like that, that'll be a rare or an epic piece. And those pieces have challenges assigned to them that if you do the challenge like stealth kill 3 orcs on fire, well, they're on fire specifically, not you, but they might be you actually, then it will unlock an ability that now when you do a quick throw, it's going to light that orc on fire 66% of the time if it gets hit with it. rare, or I believe, no, excuse me, epic is the next tier above it. And that one actually will start with an ability and then have an unlockable ability.
Right.
And so that's an extra higher. And then if you hit legendary, which these are things that you get from legendary orcs, and these are come in sets. And you can also get some other ones in other ways, like the Bright Lord armor comes from doing the Celebrimbor Barrow missions. And but these actual gears that come from gears, this gear that comes from here, you have an ability to upgrade them throughout your entire play. So if the ability was like dominate a level 20 orc, it will make sure all the gear moves up to level 20
Right.
when it's time to do that.
This is really important because we watch,
Yeah.
we iterate on the UI, we watch people in play tests have that moment of like, oh, this looks like it's lower level than the epic piece I just got, and then they sell it. But actually, even when you start to outclass it in the moment, you might want to keep it around because at some point you'll be able to upgrade the legendaries to a much higher tier.
Right.
The legendaries can actually grow with you throughout the game. So you'll go through stretches where you want to mine other rares and epics to keep pushing through some of those mid levels, but you'll hit these thresholds where you'll want to now bring your legendary gear up to snuff and it'll become your best gear again, so that when you finally level cap and kind of max everything out, you can bring that legendary gear to its top value.
Awesome.
And they become legitimate sets that you can toggle between depending on what you're trying to accomplish or your play style.
Cool. So there was related to that, there was a question that was, what kind of challenges would we see on gear? And then there was another question that I unfortunately missed that I thought was a good one, which was which is, how does the gear come out if it's legendary and it's a random drop? And the answer to that question is that if you kill a feral legendary orc, he will drop a legendary
one of the feral
set.
pieces.
Yeah.
So there's some particular mappings of where you're going to have to look to hunt down the specific legendary pieces, but there is some randomization there. So there's some set properties that are for sure guaranteed on each piece in those legendary sets, but then there's a couple of extra properties on each legendary piece that'll get randomly rolled depending on who that orc was that you killed to get it.
Right.
So there's still some variation, and if you find the same, if you find a feral sword that's legendary multiple times, and you're playing forever and you're collecting multiple sets of these things, but actually each one of those potentially does have a few nuances that are a little bit different, and you can kind of min-max around certain things if you're really trying to tweak the system.
Awesome. It's I keep second guessing myself. Incredible. There we go. New word. Oh man. Then the other question, which was, what kind of examples of challenges would exist? Well, there's that stealth kill one.
Right. Yeah. There's tons. I just went through the list with a designer who's hooking those up a couple days ago, and tried to make sure that.
So many.
Yeah, that everything was mapped really nicely to what the properties are and what the nemesis traits are and all that stuff.
Right.
And it reminded me just how much diversity there is in the game, because it's basically pushing you to these. They're kind of bite-sized little challenges. They're not going to be things that take hours to accomplish.
Right.
They're going to be things that you just want to pop that on, keep it in mind, and like engineer a situation, and now you can upgrade your gear.
Right.
So the goal is to kind of highlight all sorts of different aspects of the mechanics of the game. And so if you're into that kind of thing, you'll probably naturally do it, but we might push you to like explore that mechanic a little deeper with these challenges to then forge it into the perfect form that really highlights that mechanic.
That's awesome too. Incredible. Damn it. So I saw two questions. One, which I thought was an interesting one, which was, how does gear affect your stats in that kind of way? And then another one, which I want to answer real quickly, which is, what is the darkest armor we can get? Probably Dark Tribe armor, which I thought was amazingly on the nose.
Another important factor, though, is that the armor, the visuals of the armor is also influenced by the randomized nemesis traits and stuff.
Right.
So it's not necessarily just the Dark Tribe armor. It's actually, if you find a guy who himself is really dark, then there's a influence on what the color and the look of the armor is that comes out of him. So if you're farming guys who have certain tints going on them, then you're more likely to get that kind of tint, and can kind of depend on those.
So you could try to be like all red, or you could come up with your own color mix.
Right.
Cool. Now I love this question. Will there be any potatoes? Asking for my buddy Sam. Chemedy Arcane. Well said. Well done. So then I saw a question which was, how many sets, legendary sets there were. And so there's one legendary set for every tribe. And then there's the Bright Lord, and then I believe there's one more that we have
that we can't talk about
yet. Yeah. It's, I think that's, and
there might be two more.
There might be like, but at least the number of tribes there are. So let's see.
For each tribe plus some.
Plus some. I like that way, yeah. Did you just confirm fashion armor for the true late game? Ninja's fashion war? We need to go fashion Talion. We have to come up with some way to do it. Fashion souls is a good thing, so I could see it. Oh, here's from Kabrum01. So this is a question I've seen come up a bit, which is headwear for Talion. It depends. So cloaks that Talion wear will sometimes have some form of headwear related to it. So it kind of depends on the cloak that you're actually having at that time. So it's not like you can be like, I want that helmet. It's more like, I'm wearing this cloak that comes with this certain headset.
Right. Exactly.
Vote
Also
fashion
see,
war.
if you encounter a sword breaker and he breaks your sword, and then you go try and get a better version back, and you eventually kill him with fire, and he's got a fear of fire, can that add the fire ability onto the sword you're getting back? Yes, totally. It's going to give you back a better version of what you had, potentially with even more stuff on it. So that's a possibility. Yeah.
I love this question from Dave. Will a Nemesis tribe be angry about wearing gear from the tribe,
from a rival tribe?
From a rival tribe, or I mean, from the same tribe, because you know he killed your tribe.
Yeah. So the concept of the gear also is like it's not that they're literally dropping you a cape to just put on.
Yeah.
It's more of a record of the battle and using Celebrimbor's epic forging prowess to craft your stuff into different and better forms and sort of commemorate the orcs you have slain along the way. So they're a little bit disconnected. It's not literally putting on the orc armor. It's forging a different, more Talion slimming armor out of that kind of encounter.
Right. I saw a question that I thought was particularly fun too, which was from Official Asian G, which was, can you remove armor? Which I'm curious if he's trying to lead to, can we have a bare-chested Talion? I think is the question direction that's going with that. Or do you only change the armor?
Talion is too modest for
Too modest. He's just died a lot, probably a lot of scars.
He's a noble man of Gondor who's,
No, you gotta work to see this, as Mr. Talion would say. So this is another question that comes up a bunch, and it's kind of another layered answer. For Kawaza Tomato, can you craft armor? And the answer is, you don't go to a smithy and then add certain things together to craft armor. Whenever you kill an orc, however, Celebrimbor crafts an armor in response.
And I think
the captain.
The closest thing to that kind of crafting concept in the armor and weapon pieces themselves is these challenges that once you complete the challenge, you can go back in there and upgrade it to add these new properties to it.
Right.
And then of course there's the gems that I've seen pick up periodically on the streams and stuff. Those that you can kind of combine together to make bigger and better buffs that you slot into each of those slots.
Right. Which, as a reminder, so these gems, each one of these gems has a certain status effect where it'll increase health or damage, it'll increase likeliness to pick up Mirian drops, or increase experience gain, and you can take these and slot them into various weapons or armors, and depending on where they are in a weapon or in armor or in a ring, it will change up what kind of benefits you'll get from it. So, and you can also combine these gems together to make bigger, more powerful gems on top of that.
Right.
Saw a question that I wanted to kind of answer a bit. We can't answer it completely, but it was from the Reaper, which is that he was asking, please talk about each sword that comes from the legendary sets. The answer will be no. However, there are different swords, and the second part of the question was, will there be different executions for each one? No, in that regard.
Yeah, they'll enable different cool gameplay loops, but
Right.
they'll have you're playing with the same animations there. Seamus, is it possible to mix sets, or is it better to complete one full set?
It's up to you.
Yeah, there are bonuses for having multiple pieces of a set, and we've designed it so that you can mix and match to get the bonuses that you think will go together best. So
Right.
you might decide that it's best for your playstyle to play with one complete set, but there are certainly some really fun combos that we've been playing with, that especially that I've seen QA start playing with, that are hilarious. So.
Oh yeah. There was one thing that I particularly in that regard is that we saw on the live stream when we showed a legendary gear set that when Talion was lit on fire, he would periodically explode, assuming he had 4 sets of that gear on. So if another set had, let's say, I'm gonna use one that's a real one, that you could dominate a Graug without breaking him first. that's one of the ones that could exist too, assuming that we don't change it through update, because we're still polishing. So there is actually a potential chance that won't be there anymore.
Right.
But taking that one, so you could say like, all right, I'm gonna light myself on fire, shadow like dominate onto this Graug, and then just be exploding on top of this Graug as he's running in and smashing things. A ridiculous, really bad strategy, but it's something you could do.
Do you have to unlock gem slots for each individual piece of armor, or just for the slot of that armor? Yeah, it's not every single new piece you get. You have to re-unlock the slot on that. It's sort of associated with that place, with the armor slot at the higher level, not the individual piece of armor.
Right. And so we're going to take 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're going to move on to talking a little about skills, and then we'll just open up to us explaining E3 again and how that's going to work, and just random questions at that point. So let's see. Can an Uruk steal Talion sword from Prak the Swordsmith?
Keep trying. Keep asking.
We've talked about this one. Will there be a loot cave just like Destiny? That's actually an interesting kind of sort of. No, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I bet someone will drag a million captains into one particular cave
just
and
take them all out. This is my murder cave. Nowhere faster. Jared, you should bring your guitar for the next stream. I don't think at E3 they're going to be like people sit down in a studio in order to watch Shadow of War, and then I come out and I'm like, I haven't played in a while, guys. Ding 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 ding.
What if the only sword you have gets broken by a sword breaker? We're gonna be nicer than that. We won't leave you to engage in fisticuffs.
You will have a stick. That would be really funny. It's like Celebrimbor is like, I am embarrassed for you, Talion. Here is a stick. Now let's see. There's questions about will it be easier or harder with Shadow of Mordor because we have more gear. So that's a question that goes in that we'll actually answer a little bit more in depth as you guys sing, but it's definitely something where there are like difficulties now, and the game is harder as far as like how many orcs exist, skill sets that they have. So it's one of those things where it's hard for me to tell you until you play.
You can certainly make it harder than you could possibly have made it last time. By default, we're trying to make it, find that sweet spot, but that's the point of adding easy and hard mode, is to give more people the opportunity to sort of have the experience they want to have. And so we certainly made sure that the hardest it can be is way harder than the hardest it could be last time.
There you go. And I saw a question from Rhythm Beats. Is there an incentive to use lower quality gear other than special legendary? And the answer is yes. Not necessarily once you're hitting end game, late game, but maybe, depending, because let's say you got a legendary piece of gear at level 5, and that gear would then be rolled and statted to be a level 5 piece of gear.
Right.
Let's say now you're level 19 and you get a common piece of gear. That gear will have a base set of stats that are higher. Like, so if it's a sword, it will give you more damage than that legendary gear. It won't have the extra benefits and perks that exist. Once you then hit something high enough level to complete the mission or like the side challenge that exists on that piece of gear, then you can level it up to that point, and then maybe you're like, all right, back to the legendary gear. But for that in-between time, you would use the common sword in that way.
Right. Exactly.
So with that, we would do a vote, but we know it's going to be skill. But I think it would be funny, though, just to watch everybody vote skill. So part of me is just curious, actually, if all you guys are going to be like, yeah, we'll play along.
Dance.
I'm not telling you to dance, but you're free to dance. That is totally true. But now I get to just write one word upside down, like so. There you go, guys. You can vote skill if you'd like to. We will record it. Though it would be pretty funny if you guys all start voting other things, because then it'll say vote no skill. Because it's just fun to have you guys vote and be involved, and it's fun for us to see this, especially because it also counts all your invalid votes, which is always really funny. Because currently invalid votes are taking just by storm.
Maybe we just talk about invalid vote next if it wins.
Yeah, I guess we could just talk about invalid vote if it wins. I like that thought process. But while we're waiting for invalid vote, I guess I'll drop a little bit of a reminder of skills.
All right.
We've expanded skills significantly. And you've seen the combat skill tree, you've seen the predator skill tree, and you've seen lots of other vote bouncy houses. You've seen lots of other skills related to, like when we're playing the live streams, and we haven't shown you all of them yet because we want a little bit of mystery and have fun with taking them out. But one of the biggest things that is related to this is it opens up new play styles for you guys. So, for example, each skill has this variety of augments that you can choose one of to use. And one like combination that we were talking once about was like using, I believe it's Grim Resolve is the skill on combat that if you get, it's the one that you always have might building up really quickly, but if you get hit once, it goes away. I think it was that
Fatal
one.
Might?
Fatal Might.
I think Grim Resolve is you get might when you get hit
Right.
instead of losing it.
Right. So Fatal Might. And then you combine that with the ability Fury, which is the one where you mount a guy and punch him a lot in the face.
Yeah.
You build Might very, very, very quickly. And so that's one of those examples of a combo that if you were someone who likes Fatal Might and likes getting those Might bars up quickly, you could use that combination and then build up a Might bar immediately. So this opens up an option. Or if you prefer something like to be sneaky, there's one of the execution abilities is that you actually build up Might when people don't notice you as you're getting kills.
Right.
So let's see, any skills granted by a weapon from Hollower in 1980.
That's an interesting nuance to just sort of how you think about abilities. You won't have the skill tree suddenly light up because you got a weapon that enables a skill, but some of the weapons give you new abilities that are, as far as we're concerned, kind of on par with something we could have just put in the skill tree.
Right,
So-
like the lighting yourself on fire and exploding
Right,
periodically.
right.
That's not a skill you unlock, but when you wear enough armor, that would exist. And you could, you could add be a fire guy and then make sure all your augments are fire related so you can make sure to be lit on fire at some point and running around blowing up. Let's see, you can use quick switch between your ranged weapons, bow and hammer, without going to the menu. JD0394. Interestingly, that was a comment that we made when Mike was on stream, and he went, "That's a good idea," and wrote it down. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But right now it's menu.
You have to go to the menu and swap out which weapon. You either have the bow or you have the hammer equipped. I saw, is there going to be more bow skills this time? Very yes.
Oh yeah.
Very yes. I mean, you'll see, you already probably watched Ellie using a handful of them. She'll do a lot of that next week. They are really juicy and useful when you're, flying around a fort, leaping off of buildings and going into range mode while you're flying through the air and things like that.
That's awesome. As a reminder, there's a couple questions in here that are off the topic. You're making me laugh though, like making comments about my forearms or comments about Bob DLC and stuff like that. We'll totally acknowledge those more after we get through this part, and then we can chat about that a little bit more. Is there an invisibility skill like in Shadow of Mordor DLC? So Billy Bob 396.
We'll talk more about the
like,
skills we haven't revealed later, probably.
Right. Hollower 1980. Can a skill be negated by curse? And the answer is yeah.
Right. So one of the big things that curse does, you see the crazy sort of click the sticks, go nuts with Celebrimbor pops out and you start slaughtering everybody in super slow mo. That whole move, you fill up your wrath meter and unleash. That is completely disabled when you get cursed. So even if you've charged up your wrath meter, if you get cursed, it's going to start draining that away. There's some of those kinds of things, and curse definitely puts a little bit of a damper on particular moves.
Awesome. Let's see. We have a couple people asking weapon upgrade questions, and there's actually 2 of them are legitimate. So real quick, there isn't like an inventory max. You can carry as much inventory on you.
At some point, the machine will run out of memory. So.
Right, exactly. Like it's. But the thing is, you don't keep things like that really, because like legendaries are kept in their own area.
Yeah.
And then common stuff, when you have a better sword, you'll just break it down for Mirian.
At some point, you'll want to sell off your old stuff, but yeah.
Exactly. And then there was another one, which was, are death threats still a thing? Will they increase the chance of epic gear drop? We're not revealing too much related to that, but there are ways that you can interact using the Nemesis system to increase the likelihood of better gear or types of gear. So, yeah. The Void King YTC, do the skill augments cost Mirian? No. Those are skill points. So if you have an augment, it's like you just unlock it the same way you would unlock one of the parent skills.
Right. You do use the Mirian to purchase the fort upgrades and the assault upgrades. So that'll cost the Mirian to add the siege machines or that kind of thing. But the Italian skill tree is just skill points.
There's also with Mirian, there's the gem slots as well.
Right.
And then there's something else we haven't talked about.
Awesome Ghost, can Urks be weakened and or less damaged by certain skills or gear? Totally. I mean, there's the full spectrum of crazy Nemesis traits that different skills and gear will be better or worse for. So there's a number of different ways that can happen between, elemental effects, or if they're weak to or strong to stealth, then your dagger's not going to be that useful. But same thing with combat damage and the swords, that kind of thing.
Here's a good question, which was, they're kind of related, which is, can you switch between skill augments? You can, but it's through the menu. And another one was, can you unlearn a skill to get a skill point back? No.
Not to get a skill point back. You can unlearn an augment.
Right.
One of those upgrades. You can take it off if you don't like how it's playing,
right.
and wait until you want to buy another one. But you don't get the skill point back from it. It's just a way to deactivate that.
Right. However, you can get all of the skill points by playing the game.
Right.
Like, there isn't like, okay,
you won't cap out and be
level 30 and be like, this is your build. You can get everything, and then you can choose.
Yeah. By the time you cap out Talion's level and skill points, you'll have everything available, and then it's just choosing which ones you want slotted at any given moment.
Exactly. Let's see. Are there hammer skills from Joe Kennedy Lowell? Yes, sort of. It's not like the hammer where you're in the bow mode and you're throwing that hammer. However, there is a set of skills that are related to when you use Celebrimber's hammer, which is the freeze.
Right. Yeah, the hammer kind of manifests in a few different ways, and if you do get a hammer and put it in your range weapon slot, all the range skills apply to them.
Right.
So they're not unique to the hammer, and you have to have a hammer equipped in order to take advantage of them. They just work for range mode generally.
Right. There's a question, which is, what is Talion's level cap? Which I guess is enough to get all the skills.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And let's see. Can we have all skills and its sub-skills unlocked and used all at once? No, you got to pick between the upgrades. You only get one upgrade active at a time.
Right. So is there any option that doesn't let us change the skill augments to make the game even harder? Joas 3003. If you want to just be that way, you can. That would be the way you would just be that way, kind of thing. But luckily, or not luckily, but in relation to that, since you can change skills how you want to, you can make it a certain style. If you're like, oh, I want to make it harder on myself, or follow a certain, like playing Shadow of Mordor, I played it without getting the final abilities. But I don't feel like that's going to be the same through Shadow of War, because as personally with playing it, it's definitely an interestingly different type of game, for sure. Still that love of Shadow of Mordor, but definitely a level up above it in difficulty. Can I equip Thor's hammer, Arthix 17? Sadly, no. Thor doesn't exist in Middle-earth. Can you have multiple builds for easy switching back and forth, like between a stealth build and then a combat build? Xclips 14X? I think that was your name. 714X. So you can switch between, but it's not like a preset where it's like,
you don't like create a snapshot of all your settings and then swap things like that.
Honestly, that is an interesting idea.
That is
that's
a nice note for future sort of UI patch optimization.
Right, that's kind of a cool idea.
Can you follow the story mission? Is it required to get some XP and gear grinding?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so depending on how much of a beeline you try and take through the main missions, how distracted you get, you'll certainly end up finishing the game, or finishing the story missions of the game, quote unquote, with a different level of skill points, and you'll just have to see what your patterns end up leading you to see how much you feel the need to grind. But for the most part, it's a pretty fluid, it's going to depend on your play style and what you have trouble with, and what the random system rolls at you to get in the way. So. Oh,
dude. So we're gonna take I think one or two more questions, and then we'll open it up to talking about really whatever questions you guys want to. I keep seeing a lot of people asking about his shirt, for example. So it's we'll open those questions up. So yeah, we Void King Y2C. General questions at the end. Yes. So is there a Swordbreaker dude for your armor? That's not a gear question, but that's just an interesting question. It's kind of a gear question.
But we're talking about skills now, so I'm just going to pass over it.
Yeah, I think we're going to pass over that. I just liked it. Sorry for getting your hopes up.
Yep.
Let's see. Necromancer skills from Poozacat. No comments.
No comment.
Yeah. Can you unlock all non-story skills before getting far into the story? Awesome Ghost 58. I think you can. I think, yeah.
Can you unlock all the non-story skills? That was
Right. I think some story skills are parent skills, though.
Right. So there's some dependencies as you go down the trees, but but if it's not dependent on a story skill, then technically, yeah, you can grind your way to unlocking that stuff. You'll probably hit a point where you'll think the most efficient thing to do is probably to play through the next story mission, but it's possible.
One thing related to the side stories too is that there are some abilities that are story abilities you get from doing the side missions. So you could complete the whole main story and then still have some side missions to get those other abilities too. All right, I think let's do one more.
All right.
So there's the what variety of dominating techniques? They said branding, but I'm trying to remember it's dominating. Is there a way to what fun. Someone is eating something. You're convinced, Silent Shadow. No food.
Is it the beard rubbing on the mic?
It might be a beard rubbing on mic a little bit, yeah. So, let's see. How far can we get in the skill tree until the story blocks us? Joint Warner 1? I mean, far.
Yeah.
I mean, you can unlock, like, relatively. You can actually see, if you go into the live stream that we did last week and 2 weeks ago, the entire skill tree. And so you can see where their skills are actually, we'll say this is a story skill and where it isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we unlocked every single one though, so that might be a little bit harder now that I say that out loud. Sorry, never mind. It's always will always be branding for us. I could see that, Tizen Boy. That's a funny game. Can you be poisoned by your own poison skills? Jilly Crap. Great name. No, you can't be poisoned by your own poison skills.
Right.
I mean, you can poison a barrel and then blow it up to get balefire to hit you.
Run through the balefire as it spreads around the zone,
Right.
and that'll, yep.
So balefire is poison and fire combined. Ellie does it in the live stream that we showed you guys, where she quickly does what is known as a
Poison tendril.
the poison tendril. She does poison tendril, which is a far off ability to poison barrels from afar, and then shoots it, and then it's fire and poison. So, and with that, I think we should open up to general questions because people are starting to be with some of those silly questions. Which one of them, the person made a comment about the forearms. Thank you for giving me a compliment about my arms. That made me feel good. I do rock climbing, so that's where that can come from. All right.
Makes sense. Let's see. What do we got?
What is the difference between Mystic and Dark from Nowhere Faster? An interesting. I think to do a higher level, because we'll do a deep dive into these guys.
Okay.
But from a high level, the major one is that the Mystic guys tend to be more focused on like rituals and this kind of thing, while the Dark is like really close to Sauron.
Right.
So, for an example, where can we get Shadow of War merchandise? So if you're referring to the shirts, this is a shirt that we got when we were traveling in Europe. It was so as of right now, these shirts are just our shirts.
Yeah,
we don't have any place to buy them yet.
European PR folks made some of these and were nice enough to give us a couple.
It was so nice, yeah. Let's see. As you guys are putting in more questions, apparently I forgot to turn off MooBot because it's still counting some votes. Let me close that off. But I wanted to do another reminder real quick about the. Oh, you have a question?
I've seen this Sandrelker. This question go by a bunch of times, asking to clarify what this Minas Moria place is we talked about, which I assume you were maybe mishearing Minas Morgul, which is the city of Minas Ithil after the Nazgul take it over. You see in the films, you see the giant green spire shoot up into the sky, and Frodo and Sam walk up, and there's those creepy statues, gargoyle-y guys guarding the bridge and the Tower of the Moon there. So after the Nazgul take over that city, it's called Minas Morgul, and that's what we're talking about.
Right. Then there was, is there a delay in the release? Nightwalker 87, we recently announced that we were moving the release date from August 22nd to October 10th.
Right. So it will be that much better, more polished, more beautiful of a game.
Right. We're spending the time to ensure to polish it up, balance it out, make it better. Let's see. Other questions. Is there a legendary version of the starting set? Unlimited Panda 5. No comment.
No comment.
JBJ Blaze. In order to work for Monolith, are beards actually a requirement? That is the exception of the Tom Cruise doppelganger, i.e. FMA. The thing is no, it is not a requirement. It's we
Just
do.
really lazy, and
We're from Seattle. Beards are a thing up here. Like that's part of it.
it's always a little cold, but not that cold.
I mean, it really keeps you warmer, so that's nice. Speedy T51 wanted a bit more of an in-depth of what's being polished. I mean, we can't tell you specifically because that reveals the development process a little bit more in depth than we should be. What we can tell you is that it's
Fixing tons of bugs,
yeah.
making things run smoother. Yeah, just all the stuff that we can cram in before we have to send it off to certification.
right. Let's see. This time for real. Are there Swordbreaker dudes? We've already said no, not. Oh wait, no, because it was the skill one. Are there Swordbreaker dudes for your armor? Which is that a question we can answer?
Yeah, we've been over this, Jared.
I'm sorry.
Been over this.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Bob. Heartbreak. Let's see. Can you use elven swords or bows? It's an interesting question. I actually don't know if that gear, if Celebrimbor makes one of those.
Swords or bows. We'll have to wait and see a little bit on that.
Right.
Will it run at 60 FPS? Well, obviously it will if you play on a powerful enough PC.
Yeah. Can you change Talian's hairstyle? We prefer the mohawk. That's the best hairstyle, and no. Thank you for saying we have nice beards, though, Hirdeling.
Is it possible to get rid, kill all of the Uruks and Ologs in one region, at least for a time? I'm sure that will be a specific goal that players will set for themselves. I think it will be possible, but again, not forever. There will always be guys trying to fight their way in, so
Right.
depending on just how badass you are at it and what strategies you take, I'm sure you'll be able to pull it off, at least for a moment.
There you go. Let's see. Can Talion use dwarven weapons? There is actually a dwarven armor set. So, I believe so. If, that's what Celebrimbor had called them. So, yes-ish, sorta. I mean, it's not like you're gonna use a dwarf weapon, but there is armor set that is dwarven.
Let's see.
There was a question about
You'd be at
PAX.
PAX West.
Yeah, and I was like, well, we live in Seattle, so it would be surprising, but I don't know if we've officially confirmed anything.
Yeah, well,
So,
a number of us will personally be there regardless.
yes, that's true.
There's always good talks and fun stuff.
Let's see. Saw a question just joined midstream. Did we talk about the story trailer? Yes, we did. Caswell, Harclay, I think so to say. So once we're done, go ahead and watch the VOD, and you can see Tony, the guy who wrote "We Bring War" for Aslar, talking about the story. Just telling where boxers and briefs. Commando. So here's an actual question from Hugo Summers 1. Can Talion use curse? Sorta. The siege beasts in a fortress assault or in defense can be assigned curse as one of their things that they shoot, and that spreads terror when it hits the grunts and they run away from it.
And we'll see what ends up on gear. You never know.
Right. And so with that, it's 4 o'clock, so we should
wow.
take like 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, I gotta get back to finishing this game.
No, just gonna go play.
Well, try and fix some bugs.
Oh, that kind of finishing the game. I really like the idea of everyone being like,
That's
wait.
true. That's true.
Yeah, it's not 100%
Scroll.
clear.
No.
Let's see.
All right.
Oh, I have a final thing that I gotta make sure I say too at the very end. Let's see. Ooh, so we have questions about necromancy from Killer Kai. We'll talk more about necromancy in a future stream, cause it's cool.
Talion can run faster, jump further, climb faster. Why can't Uruks climb? You just keep an eye out in the streams. They're more mobile than they used to be.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna take a final Castle Harclay. Thanks. No problem. All right. So here's an interesting Jimmy Dean 64. Can you stealth kill into a fortress, fight an overlord without killing the war chiefs? No. The war chiefs must be killed in order to then take the the overlord's door to be able to kick it through.
And can you ride an Olag who's already riding a Graug? Only if a Karagor has mounted him first.
And a spider.
And a spider.
Right,
You
but-
gotta put your spider skates on, get on the Karagor,
Right.
who gets on the Olag. who
But
gets
the
on
Graug has to hold the Drake like one would with airplane and to make it work. So, all right. So with that, Those are. We should actually do a serious question as our final one. I just dropped everything on the ground and all our cameras disappeared. So I really, yay, we're still there.
All right.
Whew, that was scary.
Discord shout out. Yeah, join the Discord.
Oh
It's
yeah,
fun.
it's the Discord is fun. I'm not gonna. I mean, like, so actually, go ahead and put in the Discord, or excuse me, in chat, our community.wbgames.com for people who want to chat and hang out in the forums. You can also check out the Discord. We hang out there every once in a while. And let's do some actual final real question, and then I want to talk more about E3 and take some very specific E3 questions. So let's see. Can you show mercy to Urix without branding or shaming them? Rhythm beats.
I mean, you can always let him go. You can basically tell him you'll fight him to the death and let him go, and
then run away,
and then just leave him be. Yeah.
Right. You can also scare him away. That's one way to do it.
That's true.
Yeah?
That's true.
That's an option. Aslo kick. We've seen that question asked a lot. We're not answering it. Is it possible to move more than 10 allies to another region? Vesper Kid. Interesting number choice. Allies and region moving. That's kind of actually part of the balancing that we're doing a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that
Yeah.
at some point once we.
There isn't actually an
More
answer
solid.
really yet. Vote set of declutter. So the next. All right. So let's actually now take this opportunity to let's see. Okay, so we got a final question I'm going to do from Chasm, which are the other Elven gear sets other than the Bright Lord. Don't have anything to say about that one. I know you got all excited about that with the full caps, and I was like, you know what? No. So
Cruel.
I know I can be cruel sometimes. So let's actually go ahead and talk a little bit about E3. Now we're going to take questions about E3 too, a very focused one, because I'm going to do another reminder real quick of this particular set of times. So you will see that feature content on live.wbgames.com, or you can watch us on Monolith Live, our live stream as well. June 13th, June 14th, and 15th are all going to have multiple streams, some which will be like interviews with the platter or whatnot, that kind of thing, or we'll have people up front and talking, and then we'll also have these live streams of the live gameplay. So at the bottom, you'll see the live streams of the live gameplay that we're talking about. I actually think I want to put myself into a little side of the screen, but I can't do that very quickly. So we're going to just do this for now. But I can move real quick. Oh, wait. I can do it as we're talking. So those are things. But what are some of these questions related that you guys want to know? What time some of these will be? Are you curious about anything more related to it? Or however? I'm going to put it up. Boop. It's in front of Bob now.
Nice.
There we go. That's the one. Right there. We'll put it right so I can look at it. I'm looking at it at the moment. Oh, Bob's disappearing. No, Bob, no. So, let's see. Chasm 18. Hey, that's very nice of you to say after I made a joke. I apologize if it was hurtful, but I'm happy that you enjoyed the stream. Yeah. Oh, this is a lot of streams. We're gonna be doing presentations on the clock, round the clock, constantly while we're there too. Live presentations, and some of them will live stream so you guys can see them. But some of them will be just in-person demos for the consumers to come in and check them out. Will there be a Kublai Khan exclusive video for E3? Nowhere faster? Just Jared. Just not Kublai Khan.
Great beards make great streams.
We'll write that down and put that into our learnings that we share at Twitch one day. Streams on streams on streams, hell yeah. This is a big question that I see coming out a bunch. So, this was, will there be demo copies to be played at the show itself, and will those demos be NDA'd? So, there are behind closed doors things that we'll be doing with journalists or other certain people who have passes. As far as typical consumers, it will be the live presentations that we'll be doing, as opposed to a demo play.
Right. Yeah, you'll watch FMA and
Matt Allen
and Ellie do their demo in the
Right.
theater, where it'll be Ellie playing and Matt talking about it. That'll be what everybody can cycle through, and then behind closed doors, journalists will have a chance to play, be more hands-on with the open world, and
Right.
so we'll see what comes out of that. So you'll see other people's descriptions of their experiences afterwards. But
Let's see, looking at like those times might interlap with some of the other conferences. Rhythm beats. So that is true. I mean, these are our times. So there will be some people watching other certain conferences and things going on. At least for, where's my hand? There we go. What hand am I supposed to use to do this? There it is. This way. There we go. I found it. Okay. Perfect. These times here, it's reverse for me. It's like I'm looking in a like not even a mirror. So for these times here, these ones we're doing these live stage events, and so we just chose to live stream these ones versus these ones are actually WB related, and so that's why there's so many. We'll be able to watch E3 streams here. Show us 3003. Yes, we will have live streams here. Who is FMA again? Matt Allen. You've seen him on stream. He's the guy who said, I am as old as dirt.
He's our director of technical art.
Yeah. He's not old as dirt. The Void King Y2C. Will the graphics be better? In fact, they are better in the... Yeah.
Just keep getting better and better until we launch.
They are. There's like light years. From the live stream that we showed you guys, light years ahead. That was, at the time we filmed it, weeks old of a build. Maybe a month old even. Like... So there you go. Can we watch these at another time? Harold Gelding? Yes, we will have VODs of all these because they're going to play through this channel, and channel will keep on those VODs.
Who's your favorite Matt Allen?
Who's my favorite? There's two Matt Allens, actually. So that could be a painful moment. Anyway, with that, I mean, I'm hungry, so I'd like to get some food.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to actually leave this up, so... See you later, guys. We're gonna head out. We're gonna leave this up for you guys can ask us more questions. And Rick's shinier 10 times. So many more times because we gave him body oil this time. So that is why. Anyway, loves, you're awesome. It's a total joy to have you here. Bob, do you have any final closing words?
Thanks, you guys. It's fun.
Always fun. Yeah. See you.